she'll be back tomorrow. Maybe.
And
There was no guarantee.
Is Rob going to be able to be here tonight?
No.
Okay.
Hi, Ron.
Hi, long time no see.
Howard.
Yeah, thanks.
Do I have 1 year left or 2 years left?
I think it's 2.
I thought it was just 1.
Could
I
be.
can't remember. I know. I'll come in sometime when you're not busy so we can tell. Well, okay, never know.
Just kidding.
That's what I kind of figured.
It's crazy.
Leslie said, how's she doing? And I said, she looks a little tired.
See these gray hairs that are coming?
I'm so jealous.
No, I remember when I was a
Right here.
kid, Mrs.
And
Burns.
this is what I've got, so
First grade teacher. We had a sub like twice, and her name was Mrs. Carter, and I hated her.
I have some here.
I was like the only sub.
Very proud of it.
Then I never had a sub again until I was in high school.
My daughter and my son
Really?
both have gray.
Take that back.
I was gonna say, that's really hard to
Were you
imagine.
homeschooled?
Last year,
Mr. Dowler broke his back.
and it came in, then it came in,
We didn't have subs. We didn't have subs.
salt and pepper.
Different world, yeah.
I swear this table's getting higher.
Your chair's just a little lower.
Thank you.
We have a phone book.
Oh.
Do they even make those anymore?
No.
Yeah.
yes, and they
The
deliver
living
the,
phone book is,
Maybe I'll try to.
oh, have you
yeah,
seen
it's
it?
this
What's the
big.
phone book?
Well, they still send
But
one out.
I know they do.
There's-
I got one and I thought, there's nobody in here. I'm sure there's nobody in here, I know.
When is somebody gonna make a cell phone book?
They better not.
It's in your business.
That's in your cell phone. It's called contacts.
If you wanna
Build
contact
yourself.
somebody else.
How do you
I
find
just
somebody?
say,
Google.
I talk to
Okay,
my
yes.
friend in the phone, I can't say her name,
Siri.
and I say, yeah. I
No, don't say her name.
Don't say her name, she'll.
Oh,
She'll
yeah.
still answer.
All the time.
If I have Siri activated with my Apple Watch, she answers pretty much all my map questions. And
Yeah.
because my arm like turns around because that's
So,
like,
yeah.
so whoops, she's on. And I'm like, oh, sorry. So that cover it again. So I just have to turn it off. I can't use it.
Yeah, mine talks to me too sometimes. I'm like, Siri, I don't need you. Go away.
No, I did social media once, and I connected with a friend of mine, and then it wasn't my friend. God, this is so dumb. You're trying to talk to people. Say, this is-
No, I
Not
don't mind
for
at
me.
all.
Did that once. Never again.
And my son said, Dad, when you have to friend them, you don't want to friend many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the ones that try to friend you,
Mm-mm.
probably should just ignore.
Yeah.
That's like, is Skyping still the correct word when you?
Zoom.
It can be
or
Skype.
what is-
There's
Zoom?
Skype and Zoom, yeah.
I don't like that either, when you have like 9 people. You say, who was talking, you know, what was the question? I don't like that either. You know, years ago, you know, they tried, you know, the phone, remember that had, and it didn't
Oh,
apply to
yes.
people that,
Oh,
oh
that,
geez, my hair's not done, I don't wanna be talking on the phone. But that fell by the wayside, I guess.
Thank
People
goodness.
look better now, or they don't care.
but it would be nice to see people talking to each other when they go out to dinner or something, instead of
Instead of-
sitting together and everybody's on their phone.
People always say kids are bad. Go to a basketball game and look
And
up
the
and down
parents.
the rows. Half the parent, hey, what's the score? Look at the scoreboard.
yeah,
Don't have
where
a
am
clue.
I?
So, Mr. Goodman, you called this meeting,
Sure.
to try and finalize some of the salary matrix, and salary matrix language. Are we trying to, tonight, are we trying to finalize all of negotiations? Are we just working on the salary matrix and to take a look at that before the May 15th deadline? What was your goal in setting this meeting?
Number one, we need to get the goal of getting this to STARS Act If we lose that, that would be catastrophic in our district. Just would.
So is it your understanding that if we can come to an arrangement tonight with the salary, that we can like sign off on the salary type and then worry about the other stuff later? Or is it all like inclusive? I don't know that
And
answer.
negotiations is
I
what you're
think
at.
number one, we need to take care of, make sure we get the STARS Act taken care of. And
Yeah,
number two,
yeah.
I think we should be able to go through a bunch of this stuff pretty quickly.
Okay. All right.
I think the bigger issue is the money.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. I just didn't know what your goal was. Just kind of working forward so I can get my mind kind of right and wrapped around it. So since you called the meeting and wanted to do that and set that, we'll have you go.
Oh, that sounds fine.
Okay.
So I have a little description here as far as where we're at.
Stand down.
Yes, I have enough copies that it's probably not.
I can share one with Wendy.
You just, you say the paper budget.
Wait, if somebody needs one,
I already have one.
You got one? You're good. As you know, we've been working with both.
She's like, that's the intentions, I'll take it.
okay,
I won't be that full.
I was
I got
trying,
it.
I was trying.
I hear music too, I think it's upstairs.
So we have some proposals to change the CBA. Number one, to start with an easy one as far as I'm concerned, that's the add driver's education instruction to the appendix D. This is an instruction, and teachers need to be licensed and all that kind of stuff to do that. This needs to be an hourly rate and negotiated by LEA. We propose $26 per hour. Here's one of the things why. As far as the money is all given by the kids who put the money in. If we raise it too high, it may not work. I think the highest we've seen was at $30 is that the highest that we've seen?
That I've seen.
Yeah, and so those are.
Big Fork's currently at 35. They had to go to 42 to try and get instructors, but they're down to 35.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so if it goes up to like $42, we're probably not gonna have very many customers, if that makes any sense. So,
There's a sweet spot for.
yeah, you can't
There's not
sell
really
apples at any
leftover
price.
driver's ed money at the end of the year. There's just, we use it all up on supplies and salaries and
And training is the other thing.
And
We also
training,
pay for
yep.
training, which they go to, I think Mr. Keller went to North Dakota for his training this year and all that kind of stuff. So we pay, they don't have anything out of their pocket for it.
Mr. Rosheen went to Great Falls.
So we pay for that as well, so. Yeah, Article 6, return to 180 days of instruction. Again, this is the largest variable in learning. And my concern is with removing those days, not putting them back, I think it's undermining our profession as well. If we as teachers aren't paying attention to what the most valuable variable is, and we're not honoring that, I'm afraid if we don't value education, how can we get people who are not in our profession to do the same? Yeah, so from kindergarten to senior year in high school, it's 52 less days of school. And my fear is that there's just going to be a race to the bottom on that. And eventually it's just not going to be good for our profession and not good for what we're doing. We're here to educate kids. And yeah, I don't think it's just not good for our profession. The other one is Article 12, teacher's evaluation tool. It needs to be updated. It was supposed to be based on the Danielson model. Anybody was here for that? Anybody?
Maybe, I don't know.
So in order for us to be, one of the key ingredients as far as how to impact learning is to have an organized approach as far as saying, what are we valuing? What are we looking for in the classroom? And right now, I mean, the Danielson model, we could buy it and stuff like that, but the OPI has one right now doesn't cost anything, based out of Northwest Laboratory, which is the educational. There's one in Northwest, there's one in Kansas, there's one in Florida, there's one in all the basic corners of this country. And to go ahead and say, this is what we want our instruction to look like. This is the template that we work off of. And that would be the first thing, to go ahead and get that in place, K-12 in our school district. Doesn't cost anything, it's just going to take some coordination. And again, this is a really valuable thing to have, and it's really kind of a shame that a Class A school doesn't have something that's based like that. We're about 15 years behind on that. So that's just going to take cooperation. So driver's education is the only money event. The other two are desires to improve our school system. Any comments on that? Any feedback on that? Okay.
I mean, since these meetings are public and they're recorded, and I thought they were video. Are they video?
Kangaroo.
They are, I just
Oh,
put the
oh,
distraction away.
that's me.
Look at a kangaroo.
we have had, and people watch, people watch, which seems, interesting to me. Let's just say that. And so
The board meetings or these meetings?
these meetings.
No, it's just me watching it. I have to take minutes. No, I'm serious. There's like 0 watches. There's
one,
That's
Mr. Wright.
Oh,
okay.
Mr. Wright watched
Okay,
it,
good.
and
Someone else is
and-
watching. Good.
yes. And so since that happened, Mr. Wright shared information with our driver's ed instructor about your proposal of 26. And I mean, I don't know how much we value the driver's ed program.
Are you saying that or no?
No, I don't know how much we value it, but I mean, he came right down to me with the information, and he said that if we don't raise it, if it's not raised to 30, he's going to resign.
Mr. Wright's or something?
No. Mr. Wright told Mr. Germany.
Micah?
Yes.
Micah Germany?
Yes. So I don't know how important that is. He thought that we should also raise it to 275. That's currently what Big Fork is 275, and they're at 35 an hour for their driver's ed instructor. So I just want to throw that in. I don't want to feel like I'm threatening you. I'm just giving you information so that you can work with that. Our original offer was 32. After looking at it, that's not okay. If we could find a way to go to 30 to keep the driver's ed instructor, I think that would be a good with raising the price up to 275. I'm just giving that information to you guys. You guys can do with that what you want with that driver's ed. Just so I had that information, I thought it was important that you guys had that information too.
Can I ask about it says it's OPI tool. Would we just find that on the website to go
Yeah,
read it?
there
read
is.
it?
Yes, there is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's easy enough to
Yeah,
find.
I can send.
It's easy.
I actually have a link to it. I can send it.
Okay, I'd just be curious to read
Yeah.
what that is.
I think it's pretty good, but all of these instructional, they're complicated. Lots of information. The issue is picking what you think is the biggest issue. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say? Was it 30 or 32?
30.
Everything gets two.
I think I would be able to talk them off the ledge if we could get it to that. So we go ahead, and you want to talk about the financial information that you have down there?
What's your thought on the 180 instructional days?
I've had a lot of, since that was first proposed, I haven't talked about that was a proposal. I had asked teachers that were here last year at 180. and teachers that were here at 176. And I asked them, how much did those 4 days affect your curriculum? Every single teacher that I've talked to has said it has not affected my curriculum at all. And I've talked to like people like advanced classes like Wally Winslow, Renee Rose, even Mr. Wright was here, Mr. Patton, who deals with our special needs kids. And they said it did not affect their curriculum at all because of everything that goes on within a school year. They have some days built into their curriculum, for lack of a better word. I think Mr. Winslow used this word. He said fluff days. Because kids are gone on a field trip or this and that he does other stuff with them, and then he has all of his curricular stuff on the side. Even with the 176, the days, the most important thing that we have to address as a school is our attendance. I mean, I don't think we can start talking about how many days we're going to school until we start talking about how to fix the attendance and the lack of attendance. The lack of attendance at school.
They're just in the parking lot.
Well,
Not all of them.
You know what's funny is that there's a police officer that has a brother that is a senior at the high school. Mr. Beagle was walking through the parking lot with him, and they're like, "Oh, there's people over there," and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's my brother's car. I'll go get him." The attendance is the biggest factor, last year when we worked towards that, it was we were talking about mental health of our teachers and being able to cut back a little bit. We're still teaching the same amount of hours that we have for the last 5 or 6 years with the grant. The curriculum, and I've talked with the elementary people that I've talked with too. It hasn't affected their curriculum the 1 day a quarter. So I mean, at this point, we would not be in favor of making a plan to move back to that 180 until we can see something change within our attendance and our attendance policy to try and get those kids there, because 4 more days is just an opportunity for them to be absent 4 more days. It's not going to end up helping.
Well, I agree, attendance is a big issue. It's a huge issue. It's one of the big issues that we're dealing with for the charter school, as far as we have to make progress on that. And so I don't know what that's going to look like. I won't say anything on the recording. But yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. But of course, 4 more days would increase the time, even if they had the same rate. And I understand that that's something that's not popular, but I do want to advocate for this. The Canadians go 190 days. And that's a lot of days when you add it up.
How long is their school day?
That's similar to ours. Many other schools, yeah.
The other thing too that I've thought over a lot since that was on your proposal that you handed out is the STARS Act is going to be bringing a lot of schools all up to the same base, or the same lowest paid teacher, not base, same lowest paid teacher at $41,613. Okay, so if the communities, the schools are at the similar base, why would they come to Libby? What else can we offer them? We can, you talked about housing last time, and I understand that, but also, I mean, most of our first year teachers are renting. They're still not able to buy a house. With all the other things that are going on with student loans and car payments and everything else that is going on. So the cost of living is all relative depending on where you are and what your salary is. Our health insurance isn't great. It is what it is because it has to be. That's what it is. But it's not a great health insurance. There's no vision, there's no dental. there's none of that stuff. So what's
You
gonna,
just have to pay for it.
you did, well, yeah, yeah. So what's going to attract people here? And that could be one thing that we could use to try and attract people here, because what else are we gonna be able to use to try and attract people here? And when everybody comes up with the STARS Act to the same base, we need something. We need something. And we all can agree that, there's a lot of people that have lived here a lot longer than I have, that this is a kind of our own little special part of the world, special little corner up here.
Well, it is being-
And we have
it's
to,
being found.
yeah, it's being found, unfortunately, but we knew at some point that was going to happen. And I think it takes a special young person these days to come to a place like this without all of the amenities from a bigger city, of the amenities from other Class A schools, because we're on the low end of Class A, as far as size.
But is there a class, is Dillon still smaller than
Yeah,
this? Or?
Dillon, and then obviously the Catholic school, Peace Central. Yeah, they always petition.
What is Miles City doing now?
There are 4.
So what's that?
There are 4 days school week
No, for enrollment.
for enrollment. Oh, sorry.
But they are a 4-day school.
There are 4 days school, but they've also, my sister lives there and my niece goes to school there, and so do my sister's stepkids. They've had over 25 resignations in the last 2 months of teachers, principals, and support staff.
In Miles City?
Yes,
Does?
because of the administration, the superintendent.
Those jerks.
I'll go superintendent.
Yeah, really bad.
I mean, yeah, so
No,
that,
I understand.
But I think, I
understand.
understand their enrollment is holding steady from what I understand.
I just know we're on the lower end. I don't know. I think Dillon might be Dillon's the only one I am aware of that is lower than we are.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah,
Glendive, I would
so,
assume is declining, and I would assume Miles City as well.
yeah. And, those places like that have some more amenities, and some more stuff for younger people.
Not in Glendive.
Well, maybe not in Glendive.
There's
Miles City.
Yeah,
Miles
Miles City's
City.
got a bunch. Buckenhorse Hill this weekend.
Pass all year
But-
long.
yeah. So,
There's McCoshika State
Yeah.
Park.
so,
I mean, come on.
yeah, that's kind of,
I know, that's up in Glendive.
that's kind of where we're at with that.
So we got the tool,
Yes,
that needs to happen.
yep, I agree.
The driver's education will look into that as well.
Okay, I appreciate that. Were you going to have a, were you going
Salary
to,
matrix?
yeah, were you gonna have something on that, or
I can't find it anymore.
I don't even wanna know where,
No, the STARS Act dropped another 5,000. It was 287. Here it says 282.
282.
Yeah,
That's what we-
that was their start, I'd guess, what the real money is that's what we have now is 282, yeah. So we were guesstimating that's what
Gotcha.
comes out. And it's all based on quality educator payments. So we do have people in the district who are not quality, they're not QEPs. I mean, we're at $7,000. Mrs. Purdy, if she's not licensed,
yeah.
that's,
So our non-licensed teachers don't so how many of those do we have?
Sherbo, Obst,
Wait, Sherbo?
Karen doesn't have a degree.
she has
does she let
Schmidt
lapse?
lapse. She's getting it back.
Oh, this is not Taryn.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, she didn't she didn't recertify.
So we can't count her.
And there's
Yeah.
a few others.
Yeah.
There's a couple of.
How about those people that we hired on provisionals?
They work.
Really?
Um,
All of them that we hired?
The provisional people and the emergency.
We didn't have any emergency, did we?
You got one.
Mm-hmm.
Did have one. Oh, okay, I didn't think we did have an
It was
emergency.
Preschool, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And a James.
Oh,
And a
it wasn't,
James.
okay.
And
I-
a James.
Sorry,
But they all qualify.
But a licensed person, whether it be hook or by crook, if they're licensed, they're good to go.
I keep spacing out.
I'm sure.
So the more important that we attract people who are
She is, she's
Licensed.
working really hard on it.
Yes.
We got that STARS money the following
Yeah,
year.
she has her associate degree and she's working. She immediately went on, she's going on. She's
I wonder what
also
that
went
process
through
looks like.
2 deaths and handled the classroom.
Oh, is this Hannah
Mhm.
Haynes?
Yeah.
When
So-
Judy passed away and then when the other teacher did.
Yeah, so that's now when you count it off people, well, that's different than the people that are QEPs.
Okay.
We had a conversation the other night. Fairview, Montana. And I don't know, is the pheasant hunting that good over there? And wouldn't you think somebody over there, teacher, administrator, whatever, would want to go, hey, we can move to a Class A school, a bigger community, live in one of the most beautiful areas, but they don't.
Well, a lot of those people are family ranches, family farms, family.
Just stay there.
Do we have, I don't know if you can tell me this or not, do we have any applicants since we opened up the principal position again? We do.
This is being recorded, but I don't think any of them are as good as Mr. Beagle. Just saying.
Gotcha.
Okay.
It was a hard no for him for next year.
I said, oh, yeah?
I'm not gonna say any more.
It's recorded, Ron. They'll hold it against you.
All right, so there you go. Tracy's got one.
I assume you have one.
Yes, I
And I'm assuming that you guys still have
I
the
don't
25,
You
26.
might have one.
Yes. Yes, we do.
I actually have a.
I do somewhere. There you go.
If you don't have.
I'd like
Is that 26?
Oh, no,
Oh, there's
Here's the 26.
25, 26,
Josh,
27.
why don't you have the one with the yellow on it, and you can share that with whoever. So I guess I look at it this way,
First one I have.
the STARS Act is going to be, we just can't miss out on it. And we had a conversation with Alex and Andy, my.
Thank you for taking the time to talk with Alex. By the way, I know you're busy, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, by the way, he's a good guy.
Alex is a good guy.
Really appreciate him. And again, I think in this situation, what's good, I mean, here's my take on it. We have to work together, and if we can't do that, then this is gonna be difficult. But we literally, we sat down and we looked at this and said, could we go more? And literally in the little page of paper I gave you, it's what's taking place with our finances. Well, what's taking place with our finances, we're continually having less kids. And you throw the household 15 into it and $100, and that's literally, it's what it's called, it's inflationary money. And it's pretty easy to say what's taking place as far as, is it gonna cost us more money to run next year? The wax. Yeah, buying wax this time. Unfortunately, the people at the high school have been putting 6 coats of wax on every year instead of 3. So I think the ceiling's getting closer to them. But it's $11,000. Never paid $11,000 for wax. We know the last 5 years in a row we've increased property and liability insurance is $20,000 plus every year. It just goes on and on. It's documents and that stuff that's hitting us, and we really feel like if we go, when we said that earlier, if there wasn't a STARS Act, we wouldn't be able to act, we wouldn't be giving anything. It would either be steps and lanes, and that's just where we're at. And I'm assuming in the next year or two, I mean, we're just going to continue to get smaller because right now grades K through 3, its first 4 grade levels are in the 70s. 540 kids at the elementary school. When I left, there were 680. And somehow, things get less. So we looked at that, and we honestly had that conversation with Alex and as well. And that's just kind of what we're at.
So are you, by the looks of this, you are offering a 3 and 3, 2-year contract, 3 and 3. Okay, I just wanted to, that's what I thought from the stuff, the numbers that I had, that's what it looked like. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
And we also messed with the step 1 and step 2. So that's the multipliers is better on that as well.
Ron, I have to interrupt you because it will be, our net revenue will be 295, not 282. Because if we can count the provisionals and the emergency, then we go back to the original calculator that was sent out minus 1 FTE. So that'd be about 288.
Wouldn't it be nice if they would just said, this is your number, instead of you keep messing around with it?
So
They have the
it'll be
information.
up
They
to
do.
288.
They have the information. This is your number, if you meet 41,613, this is what you're gonna get, period. And just be done with it
It'd
instead
be
of
a lot
having to,
easier.
mess it around
Well,
all over
hold
the
on just a
place.
sec, because she counted Sherbo in here. I know Sherbo's working at it, I just don't think we can count her this year, but we might be able to count her
Yeah,
next year.
she'll get it next year. She has to do that, or else
So I guess that does
you
put us
only
back
get
down
one
to
swing in that, on that situation.
282. He was,
What's that
sorry.
process look like?
I know Jenny Thorstensen did it back in the middle school days, and she had to pick up a bunch of credits during the summer. That was the deal. So, yeah. I mean, as far as looking at this stuff, like I said, we just turn around and say, I don't know what else we would do. There's another thing we made a decision on this year, and that is keeping the classroom small. What grade level was that? Third grade.
What?
And 6. Yeah, we are effectively adding two FTE to our people, because we are bringing back Rosina. We're bringing back Rosina, and then we are adding a 6th grade teacher
Well, and some of these people.
to help those
Yeah.
numbers out and the behaviors of that class too, which I think is good for those other 3 teachers.
So, yeah, it's not just that, we didn't cut teachers to make this happen either.
Goyen, she's gonna be a new teacher then too.
She'll be 6.
She'll be a first-year teacher,
First year
yes.
teacher? Okay,
Yes.
good.
I
Going back to the point of how do we attract people, really, probably don't want to attract in the classroom that's bulging, yeah.
So there's been a 5th grade teacher that's been non-renewed. Have they been replaced?
Those interviews, I think, said were happening this week.
There's interviews,
For
okay.
5th grade. That was at the meeting last night.
Okay.
I believe that's what Mrs. Kidwell said.
Yeah, without,
That one, and then the high school English will be interviewed this week. Scott said that at the
a
meeting.
couple of good candidates for that.
I heard that. I heard there were some
And
good.
by the way, what saved us this year is the returning Libby people. It's like geese.
When I saw that Stephanie Lewis,
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's like.
all right. Yeah.
Like, we had Brandy Woody and we had Cassie Law, they were promoted from other.
And
things, so
Tanya.
It's great.
Tanya is too.
Yeah.
She's a great parent
So
at high school. Now we got to find another great parent, which is hard to do.
One great thing.
Yes.
In here, it's hard to hear.
Well, the truth of it is, if they work their way up through as being a parent, the first day in class, it's smooth. If they come out of college, it's not.
No, because they're in
There's
the
a big
classroom, so they
difference.
know there's a big difference between what happens in college and what happens in the classroom. That is for sure.
I loved college, and this didn't teach me anything. Anyway, so that's the matrix.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on it?
No.
Stacy? DG, any questions or?
No,
Okay. So I can't make. I've said this before. I can't make decisions for everybody. So if we could go upstairs and caucus, and then come back. Can we use that
If they're there, if
your area
you can
if
use
they're
my
not-
area,
if they're there?
your choice.
Find a door that opens.
just keep going.
You go upstairs, there's snacks up there.
I want to go to the hookah room.
Gosh, it sounds like.
The what?
The hookah room.
What was it called? What did you call it? I called
It
it hookah room.
It was the hookah room.
Sorry, I don't care. Okay. How are you ready to roll for Thursday?
Oh, I'm ready or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fiji. Don't.
Oh, I could move in, I'm just
No,
sitting there.
no, Lamar, no, you're fine. Okay.
Thank you. They're gonna come back.
Which are
An absence in curriculum, special ed, and grant writing. If that does happen, I would request that the district really look at the 5 administrators plus the instructional coach who helped with the grant writing this year in absorbing those absorbing those responsibilities. And the district could save $100,000 right there, and to be able to help with other things and other costs. And it would show the teachers, the certified and the classified staff, that the administration also is recognizing the cuts and recognizing that there is, financial issues that need to be addressed, and that the administration is also, helping out with those financial issues. So, thank you for hearing me out.
We still got you covered. Well, I would say this much. I am by nature very conservative. Some people call me squeak.
Your son.
No, he just doesn't care. He'll spend money. It hurts
That's
me.
just teenage.
But that whole issue of as we
Money's not real.
shrink, hopefully this, I mean, if we get some industry going in this community, that'd be super. Because, yeah, I mean, when I came in this school district, when we just consolidated and closed McGrade, and then went from middle school, we went from grade 5 through 8 to grades 4 through 8, and then K6. And I did not come to Libby to be an elementary teacher. Those kids scare me. But that's just an incredible, it's going to continue to morph until until it slows down and you see some growth. It's super, being great. So, but in the
You saw how
meantime,
scary they were today.
What's that?
You saw how scary they were today.
Yeah, that's right.
That was
Those were,
very scary.
yeah, they kind of grew on me, I have to admit, but yeah. So that whole issue, Josh, to answer that, the long answer, is in the midst of this, there has to be equal cutting. And you look at that and say, if we're a school of 1,000 kids, that's going to be different than 1,100, and that has to be proportional. That's the deal. Everything that takes place in the school takes place in the classroom. And what we can know is that when things aren't good administration, it's not a good deal. We've all experienced that. And so, yeah, is an administrator important? Yeah, because it takes care of what's going on in the building. Can't teach when there's chaos taking place. So, yeah. So, yeah, I understand that 100%. That being said, I'm looking for some other people to go to Bozeman with this, because the biggest problem that we have for teacher satisfaction right now is student behavior. We need to get on the same page on that, and there's some really, really good things that are out there that would be helpful. Bozeman, we have money set aside for it, so you can go to Bozeman and suffer through that, but that would be 4 days of training. So, Mr. Hannon, that'd be really great. Thank you for saying yes.
When are you going?
When am I going to Bozeman?
I'm applauding you, so that means
I saw him nod his head.
I was doing this.
Right, but
If it's during fireworks season, I'm out.
Jude. Debbie.
No, I've been before. I'm out. I have other plans.
I'm busy. What did, yeah, I'm busy. Yeah.
No, honestly, I do. But in Article 8, subsection 5, we're going to have to strike that paragraph because that talks about
Starting people on step 3, where we're going to start them on BA1, 41.613.
So that was what?
Article 8.
Do you have it, Stacy?
That's Stacy? Yes.
Article 8, subsection 5. And it is step placement is called.
Put a name tag on.
She's not
The
here.
problem is there's a Stacy and a Tracy.
And a, right? Used to have Leslie.
Okay, what, we're good with the teacher evaluation tool.
Okay.
We agreed that that needs to be updated and whatever, whatever the committee of people that get together to decide ultimately what that ends up with, is,
No, this wasn't, have to.
And that's under Article 12.
Yeah,
Yeah, nothing, yeah. Okay.
I honestly, I don't know how to move forward. I don't know where we need to go, so.
I think we're,
Well, with driver's ed, I think we can agree to, that we want to add it, because I think both sides wanted to add it to Appendix D and just get it in the negotiations in the CBA. As far as the amount, I don't know, that's something we'd have to look into, but we can always propose it to the board later. What amount it would be.
what was it he was saying that was the request?
Well, the request was the request from the driver's ed department, all of the driver's ed department was 32. And that's what I sent forward last time. And I just said, if we can get it to 30, I think I can talk him off the
Gotcha,
ledge.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Do you think it fits under Appendix D?
I have no idea where it fits.
Shouldn't, I mean, this is like
well, it
the band
doesn't-
director, middle school. Could you just add an Appendix E and put that under there?
That I don't know, but we do want to add it in there,
Right.
sure, I mean, we
I
want
just-
it in there.
This is just extras at daily rates. I don't know if it fits in there or not.
Because it doesn't really fit in Appendix B,
No.
for sure.
And it doesn't fit in C, so that's why I
No.
was saying, how about
It's
just
E.
add an E?
Yeah,
Okay.
because those are all days.
Yeah.
E could be for hourly items. Whole new category.
Well, I don't see why we couldn't just put it in Appendix D and give it an hourly rate.
Okay.
I mean, that's definitely a possibility.
Instead of days
Instead
at
of
daily
days,
rate,
because that
just
doesn't
be
make
like
sense.
whatever
Sure.
settles it at
So
per
it'll be at an hourly,
hourly rate of whatever
whatever.
it is. And guys, really, I hope I didn't come across as like threatening you. I just wanted to give you information that I got, and I think that the more information that we can have, the better decisions that we can make
Good
with that.
information, good decisions.
So, okay.
I understand the information. I didn't like it.
Oh, I know. I mean, I can't control that. Yeah.
No, I know you can't,
Yeah.
but don't threaten. Not you, Kim.
So those are the driver's education. We have the article, we have the change of the current matrix we have, and you put that, we got that already, Stacy?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
And then I think there was the travel coach thing. Are we
Yeah.
gonna try to do all this too?
yeah, so.
Do we need to do all this tonight in order to? or can we-
If we won't be
can we-
done, yeah.
Let's try this.
I'm
I
tired.
don't think we can call them a coach because they're gonna drive.
Travel chaperone
Yes.
slash
That's what
driver
we
is kind of that's the.
That's what we came up with.
Yeah, from last time, that was the language that we kind of looked at.
So
And the only reason we had travel coach originally is that's kind of what it had been used as. So, yeah, we're okay with changing that to chaperone driver.
So I don't think we need to have that in the CBA because we're not gonna hire somebody, on those drivers, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna hire the drivers from Harlow's.
But can they work as can they also be used as a chaperone then? If something arises, can they be left with
So-
the students?
They have to pass a background check, they have CPR, first aid, you name it, they're all
Right,
on
but-
par with everything.
Right, but what I'm asking is, are they only being paid like while they're driving, or can they be left with students if a situation arises? Because that's the concern.
So whoever does the driving shouldn't be the working. Does that make sense? So the bus driver gets there and he takes a break. I said if they're gonna be sitting there all day, maybe it'd be helpful, like when,
For an emergency.
yeah, because we don't want them driving over there and then working with kids and then driving again. That's what we want to get away
We
from.
don't want the extra
And- and
passes
that-
automatic.
Correct.
You know, golf, let's just talk about golf, Coach Royer.
Okay, it's a good example.
Yeah, Coach Royer's done it by himself for 542 years. And if he, you know, if they get a considerable size golf team where they have to take 2 vans to events, you know, we're not going to 2 school vans, because they've driven school vans before, right? They've taken a train before too. But anyways, if they drive the 2 vans, you know, you're not going to, or you're not thinking of hiring a Harlow's driver to drive the van. You know, that would be like, let's say there's 7 away golf trips, and he needs Terry Rebo. I don't know how to say her last name now. He needs Terry Rebo, who's been a volunteer, to step up and to travel with them and to be there in case of emergency. He doesn't need her at practice, but he needs her when they travel, so that there's 2 adults there. That's the situation we're looking at, more than hiring a Harlow's driver. You know, is that golf, cross country, and then what speech and drama did this year. You know, they hired the school hired a full-blown assistant coach, you know, basically for the traveling part of the aspect of it, because there was only 7 kids involved in speech and drama. You know, it didn't really need a full-blown assistant coach, but she did need somebody with her at away events, and those events to be able to help and to be able to supervise, be able to be there in case something had happened. So that's why we were thinking about adding that to Appendix B, to be able to be like, Coach Rohr goes to Mr. Rayward's, hey, I need help. I want Terry Berschneider, Rebo, I need her to travel with me, because he's not getting any younger either. None of us are, to help out with everything that is going on. Nick, Mr. Rayworks, can you look at, see if this is a possibility? And once again, with all of the Appendix B stuff, it's up to the athletic director, the activities coordinator, the principals to justify, to see if that is a real need.
At one time, we had put together a subcommittee. Were you on that?
No,
For activities, and it included, who was on that? I think Nick and Scott. Did you guys?
That's the being Mr. Thompson.
Oh,
No, but they had a subcommittee, so why couldn't we just, instead of having it, you know, dealing with the CBA and stuff, why couldn't we do that? I'm not opposed to having somebody paid a stipend to help take care of kids. I don't think it should be a full-blown contract, but what if we continued with that subcommittee and had them decide on how much should be paid
for what position are you talking about?
for the chaperone driver?
For just that position?
Yeah, I mean, they could discuss several different.
That's the
things,
thing,
but
is,
that
like I
could
said,
be
we
one.
could not agree on compensation. You know,
Right,
it's
but
just
that
that's
committee
unfair.
would,
The committee.
because it'd be a
Case by
board, and
case type of thing.
coaches would be welcome to come, and board members would be there, and they could decide and
So-
propose it to the board.
What was that? You said as far as deciding how much to pay?
We couldn't agree. We couldn't decide it. Is it hourly? Well, then they went to a golf
Yeah.
trip to Browning, and then they went to a speech and drama at Columbia Falls,
And they
you
made more
know?
money than the coach did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you do a stipend, well, golf has 7 away trips, and cross country or speech and drama has 10 away trips. You know, how is that fair? And it's just like, you know, my
Last longer than others.
my original thought was a stipend, and then, you know, whatever that was, a stipend, and then saying, hey, if you sign up for this,
This
this,
is what it is.
it is what it is.
I agree.
I mean, it could
It
even
is what
be
it is.
half of whatever the coaches,
No,
half of.
Nick already put that together one year, several years ago. This was maybe even pre-COVID. I had worked with them in accounts payable to put together a stipend for drivers, depending on how, because that was when we first got the little buses. How far they were gonna, like, if they're gonna go to Browning, they'd get a bigger stipend for helping out. It just depended on the distance and how long they were away, but that's already been put together.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, we
getting
could
a
revive
couple
it.
people together
I don't know
is
how
fine.
much he's used it.
Those little buses, as much as people don't like them, I guess, but even sending them over with a Harlow's driver, it was cheaper, we were looking at this the other day, it was cheaper to take the little bus and a driver. It was cheaper to go to Corvallis, about half the cost, going to Corvallis than it was to go to Columbia Falls.
With the regular charter,
bus.
I would believe that.
With the Harlow's drivers, here's a question. Are they on the same time restraints as they would be driving a charter bus, even with the little buses?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're gonna need.
So we would need a
Yep.
second driver if we're going to Billings and back or something.
Yeah, however they do that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Or
I
you
think,
could, or you could, they could take the rest and you could drive, just don't flatten the tires.
make sure
Make
it's
sure
back
you
to,
put, make sure you put deaf in it.
I didn't do that one. That wasn't me.
So,
Okay, I just was curious.
Yeah, I would assume they'd be under the same, because the real problem on all that, if there is an accident,
They gotta
the
be
Department
under,
of Transportation is all over that.
oh, 100%. That's,
So
that was
then
nice.
it's not gonna be that. So, yeah, so Harlow isn't gonna,
Fudge.
same rules, yeah.
so, I mean, so we don't have to caucus again, let's just talk out loud. I mean, since, Mr. Raverts has already kind of worked on something like that, can we agree, like, if that situation arises and Coach Rohr wants Terry Rebo
Mhm,
to do that, then it goes to him, it goes to Nick first,
mhm.
and then it's got to be you, it's got to be a school board member, and it's got to be, I would imagine of coaching members and, teacher and stuff to be able to be like, how are we going to help this out
Complicated situation. No, I think that's a great.
for that travel chaperone / driver, whatever it may be.
I
We
think it
could
would-
create a form and then they could fill it out, send it over, and then
I think he actually has one, honestly.
I bet you he
I think he
probably
does.
Knowing Nick, he's got some.
yeah.
So we're not adding this to our CBA.
So then it can kind of be, because there's so much variable with it, that it can be adjusted and worked on, as an individual, because each of those ones are different and they vary so much, it can be worked on individually in order to help out our head coaches that we have.
Okay.
So yeah, if we get that group together, I think that'd be super.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just for that travel coach, chaperone driver.
Mhm.
Okay, LMS cross-country coach at .06.
I think we were all in agreement with
Okay,
that and the high school.
okay, and
We already have them.
High school.
They're just not in the CBA, they're not in there, but we're hiring them anyways.
yeah, and once again,
Yeah.
they can decide, through the process,
Yeah.
like if it's going to be something that we're going to offer. You don't have to offer it. I mean, the school can choose not to do it, but if it does, then the language is there. Which it hasn't. I mean, we hired somebody without having that in our language. I'm sure there's some sort of provision somewhere
there's a
that
name for it.
allows us to do something like that in a specific situation. But now that the language is there, and once, like I said, and I was come back to the Twirler advisor. I mean, we don't offer that type of deal.
So that's the assistant coach and the middle school coach?
Yep.
Yeah.
Both?
So what is it currently? It's an assistant coach?
Right now, currently is a head coach and an assistant coach. That's what it is.
For cross
And the head coach is at Point.
We have a head cross country, we don't have an assistant.
So she,
That's what they have. We don't have it in there. That's what they have right now.
so she's gonna be asking for the numbers as having 2 coaches for the high school and then
I would imagine that's what she's gonna ask for, knowing the conversations that we had in all of our meetings with coaches and stuff.
Yeah.
But on the, that's where the athletic director, the activities coordinator, the principals have to come together and be like,
what's
no,
the 3?
we don't think that it's appropriate to have an assistant high school or an appropriate to have middle school, whatever that decision is. And so then you're gonna hire the 2 instead of the 3.
We don't have to use them, just
You
like we don't have to
we
use
You
the
don't have to
twirler.
use them.
Because
I
we
mean,
just
It's
have
just there.
You and I both know from our conversations with her that she's gonna ask for it, but it doesn't have to be given.
Well, on that note, can we take twirler out?
No, I am going to apply for that.
Everything.
And
that's
Kinder,
old
if you
is
don't,
good.
I will.
You never know what year twirling's coming back.
Can we take twirler out of there?
So
I mean, if you guys agree, we all take it out.
on the larger scale of this, you know, like there's
I
a
think it's
norm
gonna be-
as far as what takes place in football, what takes place in basketball, what takes place. What's the norm? I think would be also. I mean, I guess that's maybe not the best thing all the time, but I just think in terms of cross country teams, are typically pretty stinking big.
Well, and I think she has a valid point too. When you have those middle school kids with the high school kids,
Keep them separate.
they
Agreed.
should absolutely be kept separate, and you can't do that when you're having your combined practices.
Gotta
What is
protect those high school kids.
intramurals?
That's right.
What's that?
Well,
That's
back
what-
when I first came here, Mr. Morford and I ran intramurals at lunchtime. And we had basketball, we had badminton, we had pickleball,
Okay.
volleyball.
When was it? Like after school? Or?
No, it was at
During
lunchtime.
But we also
At
had,
lunchtime.
But prior to that, it used to be after school, and then they'd have.
I think, that I would imagine before I came here
but also didn't we have where freshmen had to stay on campus?
and stuff.
You know,
But that's
That
when,
could be, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
that changed when we consolidated schools because with the offset lunchtime, we ended up having middle school classes during high school lunch
Sure.
with the way it was offset. So that kind of went by the wayside.
but I
with
think
that
kids were
happened.
had to stay on campus and that
Mhm.
gave them
Do
something.
we have a marketing advisor?
Yeah.
Can I take twirler out of there?
No.
I feel like there's a nostalgic piece that's.
You're serious?
Look at all the jokes we've had about it.
You might hear everything breaks down into gradations.
Yeah.
Twirler.
I can see the headlines now.
I do know how to twirl.
That was
I'm really proud
awesome.
of
I think we need to
Bring
bring back-
gymnastics back again. and-
I can totally work a baton.
Those are big deals there in the 80s.
Yeah.
But again, look how many kids were there. Holy smokes.
And that's kind of what intramurals came in, those kids that, didn't play basketball, but they wanted to
But
play.
they-
They
Mhm.
went to intramurals in the evenings.
I think it'd be really great to have intramural, especially for like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade kids, just as a feeder program.
Yeah.
I think that would be really good.
All right, our next thing, was, the multiplier versus the base. I did not realize, I did not know, and because it's kind of my first process through this, that with a percentage increase came also the same percentage increase on the multiplier. I was not aware of that and then I first found it when you sent me the 1%, that went up also. So this is going up 3% and 3% for a multiplier. So I think that's a good deal. I think that's a good deal for our coaches, and for whatever our multiplier is used for, moving forward, with that. So, we will drop moving the multiplier to the base because it is going up. I thought it would just stayed at 35,925.
Yeah, so
I didn't realize it went up. That was my misunderstanding. with that and stuff. So, um, the next thing that we had a big long topic about was the extracurricular hiring procedure. The difference between the contract that is handed out to the people and then the language that is in the CBA with that. And we feel that because the coaches are hired, you're hired at that time, you're hired. Whatever the specific board meetings are, whatever it may be. Like the winter coaches, we just got hired here at the May one. Let's just do that because it's the ones. So if we had, which we don't, I'm just talking basketball because it was something I'm familiar with. Okay, we didn't have two coaches last year, or excuse me, we didn't have three coaches last year. We had two coaches. Okay, so those two coaches got rehired. All right, and so if we had three, and those three coaches got rehired in May, they got rehired in May. Okay, then we don't feel that it's appropriate when you get to November 25th that if there's not, let's say, not enough kids to field two teams. If we field three teams, we should have three coaches. If there's not enough kids to field three teams, that we've already hired that person. That person's already hired. How can we tell them that they don't have a job?
They haven't started work yet.
Yes, they have, because it's determined in the first 3 days. The numbers from conversations with what's going on. So, I mean, it's actually, they've been hired, they've been going. So we don't feel that it's appropriate to get to, you're hired June, July, weight room, camps with kids, open gyms, open fields, and then we get to November, and let's just say kids don't decide not to come out for basketball, and we have, let's see, what would be the number? Let's just say 18, because that's what we had a couple years ago when we had two teams. That for that year, that person's hired, that they have a job. Okay, they've been working with kids. We've asked them to do this. We've hired them on this. Okay, the expectation to move forward, they're hired. Now, when it comes to the end of that year, there obviously will need to be a reevaluation of that and be like, hey, you didn't have three teams. We don't think three people are going to be. We don't think that enough people are going to be coming out. So we are not going to rehire this person. We're only going to rehire two. So we only rehire two, moving forward. But once they're hired, they're hired. I mean, I don't think that we want to end up in some sort of litigation of wrongful termination when you say you're hired, but then it comes to November and no, there's only 18 kids, you're fired. But I do believe that there has to be some checks and balances there. And then that next year it's like, yeah, you didn't, Coach Josh Bean, you only had 18 kids. We're not going to hire three coaches. You only had two teams. We're only going to hire two coaches for next year moving forward. And there's got to be a give and take there.
Yeah, no, I agree. What's the definition of a team? Because I know that the 8 was being thrown around when Jack May was here.
8? What do you mean 8?
8 kids, had to have at least 8 kids for a basketball team.
Oh, I mean,
is
that's all relative to the sport, because MHSA guidelines, tell you how much a kid can play. Like in football, they can only play 8 quarters a week. In basketball, we can play, if you play varsity, you can only play 5 quarters a night. If you play just JV or freshman, you can play 6 quarters. And 3 years ago, we cut ourselves to 2 teams because it wasn't appropriate for our kids. We did it.
Is it based on
and
the-
cut to two
based on-
coaches.
Based on the age and the
Yes.
mixture of the.
And actually, we had freshman varsity. We didn't have a JV team because it was not good for our kids to move those kids up to JV. And I also, and with the checks and balances, there needs to be, hey, if Josh Bean's like, hey, I want to bring up 15 eighth graders, so then I get 3 coaches. No, those kids aren't developmentally ready to come up. That's not okay. And Mr. Raverts, Mr. Roshin, whoever the principal is, says no. And Ron said, and Ron and the school board say, no, that's not appropriate. We're not going to do that. I don't see our coaches doing that. I don't see our coaches doing that, to be able to bring people up, because they need to have that middle school season. Now, have we brought people up? Yeah, we brought Capri Farmer up. She's amazing.
She's pretty slow though.
Yeah, she's amazing. You know, and we have some individual athletes that are coming up. We have some individual athletes that are coming up, you know, that might benefit from coming up early for a year, but to bring up 5, 8, or 8, let's just use your number, to bring up 8 people to have a freshman team to have 3 coaches is ridiculous.
So what do those numbers look like in soccer and all that kind of stuff? What are they typically running in soccer
What do you mean?
as far as how many kids per coach? What does that even look like? I've been talking a game, but I can't keep track of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it was, oh boy, this is where we need Nick. Well, they had a head coach and assistant coach for both boys and girls soccer. Girls soccer was, I guess I could look on the rosters.
Oh,
I mean, I don't believe, I think the boys might have been approaching 20 or maybe just over 20. The girls were not above 20.
And they had 2
with that.
coaches for.
And they had 2 coaches. They had 2 coaches with that, with those people. Which, I mean, yeah. So, you know, I mean, but do you understand kind of what we're getting at? Once you're hired. But it's like, hey, you know, you didn't have 3 teams. We're going to have to cut a coach till we can see if this is actually a thing that's available, and then, you know, and then moving from there.
Josh, I'm confused on what you just said.
On what part?
The part where you said we have 3 coaches, we don't have enough to have the third
So at
team.
the end of
Then you would cut the.
at the end of the basketball season,
So that,
we only had 2 teams. When you get to the May agenda meeting where you guys talked about the winter coaches, it can be like, yeah, we're not going to hire a 3rd coach back. You only had 16 kids and there's only 5 eighth graders that are playing. You know,
Yeah, the
there's not
situation
enough.
changes.
If
Yeah.
the situation changes.
but what I question, I'm just trying to work this through.
Yeah.
So that 3rd coach, we are paying what you want them to be paid, but they're really not necessary to the program.
I would disagree with that. They're necessary to the program. If we happen to not have 3 teams because it's not appropriate for our program, they're still necessary to the program. I mean, honestly, if I were king of the world, I would have 2 coaches at the freshman practice and then 2 coaches at the JV practice, because to be able to split people up and to be able to work and have more eyes. I coached freshman basketball for 6 years by myself. It was really hard being by myself. I wouldn't say that they're not necessary or an important part of the program. They're an important part. They just don't necessarily at that time have the team to coach. You know, and it could be a situation like Coach Hanna this year in basketball had several days where he was not able to, because of prior family commitments before I talked him into coaching basketball with me. He was not able to make the game. So then we would have another person to be able to go with us, and to do that.
The only reason is you've talked about administration taking cuts and looking at ways to, I guess, find more money. that to me is a way to think about.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying keep 3 forever. I'm like,
I
mean,
know
we
that,
get
that's
cut.
not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about if we don't have, I'm just saying, we're talking about ways of finding money to go for other things.
And
Would that not be a possible way?
Yeah, and I mean, with basketball for the last 3 years, we've had 2 coaches. We've absorbed that. And thankfully, Mr. Beagle has, he's had a son and has volunteered to help, and it's been a great part, and he's helped a lot, and he's been an integral part to our practice. Um, and, and we've made that cut. And because we understood that it was necessary. Now, did I try and get Mr. Beagle hired as a 3rd coach because we had 3 teams? Yes. You guys said
And
no.
we said
You
no.
guys said no. Okay, we move on, we go. You know, because there's, like we've been talking about with all the Appendix B stuff, that is the possibility, you know, of moving forward.
Can I put it in another way real quick? On paper, a coach works for 3 months, you get paid for 3 months, but in real life, a coach is all year. And
Kind of like an administrator.
kind of like an administrator, yep, and a teacher for that matter. But if a coach isn't hired, they're not gonna put in that extra time in the summer because that is just donated time. So really, you're paying them for the full year through the season. And I know,
I do
I know,
understand that.
And then to add to that-
and that's where the pay would benefit that person, and that's what Coach Bean is saying, after the year. No, you got 2 coaches, now that 3rd coach, if he comes in the summer, if he's going to camps, is all
They know ahead of
volunteer, they know that they're not gonna get paid
I
that.
just know our coaches' salaries are getting
Higher and higher, just-
higher and higher and higher.
especially us old coaches that have been here
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
Well,
No.
yeah.
I mean, and that's something that is being looked at, because we're trying to figure out.
And I agree, and and it's across the board, and I appreciate you guys, what I do appreciate the most is you keeping 4th, 6th grade. I mean,
Well, Hannah, there's all the coursework. You have to take the fundamentals of coaching class, you have to go to the clinic, you have to take the Montana High School Rules Association, you have to get your concussion degree, you have to get your CPR, you have to get your, no, it's gotten ridiculous.
I know, but it sounds funny to get a concussion degree. I'm sorry, Tim.
I agree, the concussion is there.
Yeah.
And you have to get all those things, and then you're gonna come up and say, oh, there's not enough kids. Sorry.
So what happens if, and I'm just throwing this out, what happens if we, as a board, or we all come to an agreement that instead of always hiring automatically 2 coaches for something, we cut it down to just hiring 1, and then we see if there's gonna be, and then so we only have 1 coach going through all this stuff, what do we do then?
You have to go through the stuff or you can't coach. And that's from Montana High School Association, it's going from Dragonfly, what's the new network we're gonna be on next year, where the school gets fined $100, I believe it is, per coach if you haven't taken these courses. And then the same thing, like he said, well, geez, I don't know if I'm gonna coach next year, I don't know if I wanna go down to Western Montana football camp for a week and,
I
rules
understand
clinic.
that.
And-
Understand?
And then worst case scenario, it's just like in the classroom, you wind up with 6 kids per coach ratio instead of 10, just like smaller classroom sizes.
I think we wouldn't mind smaller classroom
No, we wouldn't.
sizes, except for Wendy.
So when
Wendy wants large classes.
What?
She is 6.
So,
coaches get a 3% raise on top
Mhm.
of this, so I mean, I don't see how we can commit to, we already spent over $240,000 on coaching salaries alone in 1 year.
Services a lot of
So
kids.
it does service a lot of kids, but to commit to coaching or hiring 3 kids or 3 coaches all at once, I don't know how we can do that and keep our costs down.
I mean, ultimately,
How do we estimate the numbers is a hard thing.
yeah.
It is a hard thing. So-
It has to be kind of like the A and B. It's got to be kind of retroactive, where, like I said, I got,
Mhm.
with basketball, we cut from 3 down to 2 because it was appropriate and it was necessary. And, you know, we felt this year we had 3 teams. We had 3 transfers come in, which, well, I mean, in my time here, I think we've had 1 in the 20 years of a transfer coming in. We had 3 come in. So that allowed us to have 3 teams and 3 separate teams. And so that's why we asked for that. You said, no, okay, life goes on. You know, we rehired Kyle and I in May. So okay, so let me propose this to you guys. So Kyle and I just got rehired for basketball, head coach, assistant coach. If we get to November 25th and we have 25 kids come out and then stay, you know, and we ask for a third coach, is the board going to consider that? Is the school going to consider that because we have 3 teams and we have 3 teams and we have 24, 25 kids? Or are they going to say, no, you need to have, you need to cut down to 2?
Well, I would think if there was a bunch of kids that came out, I think the board would be in favor of that. Probably the more difficult part would be finding somebody.
I do not disagree with you on that at all. Yeah, I do not disagree with you, but I just wanted to play that flip side because that's kind of where I am right now with basketball. I don't know what the numbers are going to be. We got a bunch of those 8th grade boys that play basketball and the wrestle, you know, and they got to make a decision next year. Unfortunately,
I talked
it is what it is.
Travis into play basketball next year.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
Sorry.
The great thing about basketball is we have cuts and I get to choose who I get to spend the next 3 months with.
I think the bottom line too is coaches and programs need to understand the budget as well and not be greedy. I mean, I had 43 kids in tennis with 2 coaches.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you.
and I don't need thank yous, but I also understand the issue. And I think as coaches, as a committee, we as coaches need to understand that too and know that we are trying to help that budget.
And there's different situations where you're saying, what are we really doing? You know, some of these kids are this is competitive and this is really an event that the community cares about versus this is kind of cool for kids to have these activities and do this really healthy thing. There really needs to be that discussion as well, I think. Yeah.
And I am all for activities. Without Mr. Hodel and some others, my son probably would never have stayed in school. I mean,
My son's in school right now because of sports. He's a 7th grader.
No, he loves science.
Math.
It's football.
Science.
Nobody's telling me.
We would just ask that, I mean, once they're hired and we get up these people going, that they're hired. And then like A and B, looking back retro, you know, I'm sorry, Josh, you had 16 kids. It's not relevant to keep your third coach. We're going to cut to 2 because you have 2 teams. We're going to cut to 2. We're going to move on from there. You know, in this day and age where we're having a hard time finding coaches, it's going to be even harder. It's going to be even harder to get those people to commit to it if they have the language that you know, if they get hired and then it comes back to them that there's not enough kids and you're fired. Now I do agree with the extracurricular contract. Let's just talk about basketball. We got 2. Okay. Let's say that we think our numbers are going to be up big time next year. We would like to hire that third coach on that possibility, but they have that contract with that clause that if there isn't, that's clause 5 in the contract, that if there isn't enough kids, then that goes away. So then they know ahead of time and they know up front that if they're going to be putting in the time, okay, that it could be, they may not have a job come the season because of kids moving forward. But once
And some of those,
hired.
that hasn't typically been the case with football because there's been enough numbers. I mean, we're talking basketball, soccer?
You know, let's see, the ones, it would be basketball, cross country is the ones that wanted it, the two that wanted the extra coach this year. Speech to drama, wrestling wanted the one. You know, it's those ones that are kind of in flux. You know, like basketball and wrestling kind of fight each other. Not really fight each other because basketball players would lose. I'll tell you that right now. But they kind of rival each other with, you know, competing for kids because it's the same season.
Sure.
So those kids have to try and choose.
Yeah,
So
some
that
kids are-
number's kind of in flux. You know, we had a kid go to wrestling and then wanted to try out, didn't like it, came back to basketball.
So is it
that-
possible with those coaches, sorry, I don't know if I should even say it.
Go ahead.
So if they, you know, they get hired on and it comes out that there's no reason for them, because I think this is kind of a sticking point, that they get a percentage of, because they have put time in, they have put in training, they have
They would.
to go into that with nothing even.
So there's days in their contract that it starts. And if they go into those days and work those days, they get a percentage of that pay.
But I'm
That's
saying,
only fair.
right, but I'm saying, you know, they've put in the field days and the,
Because the contract is, the contract for the particular extracurriculars is just dated for that
Yep.
season.
Unfortunately,
It's not a
that's-
year-long contract.
well, that's why
like
I'm asking,
Yeah.
is if there is like a preseason
I-
work that they put in it, is there a way to put a stipulation in there?
I don't think, because with what we're doing there, then we're just kind of beating the bush.
Okay,
And we're, once again, adding more.
Unfortunately,
more
all
on.
that extra time that's put in is volunteered.
Right.
And that's just,
Well, the week
Beats
before,
stupid.
basketball season starts, a bunch of kids get caught at a party, and there's only 2 kids left.
We don't have a season.
Mhm.
We got to forfeit the first games. They got 15 days and at least one contest. So. Yeah.
Good idea in theory, but it'd be a nightmare to, well, remember I put in 8 hours on.
well, no, I
June
wouldn't even do it
4th.
that way, I would just say,
Yeah.
if you've done this,
Right.
you get this percentage of it.
I thought
Yeah.
the same thing, actually, and then I thought,
Okay.
the same thing Tim's thinking. Oh, yeah, every day, 8 o'clock now.
No, and I wouldn't even do it that way, it would just be a flat, if you worked the preseason stuff, whatever, you get a percentage of it, I don't know, I just don't, because I feel like this is,
I've been doing it a long
We
time.
want to be able, we want to move on here, so I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here.
I'll just add this
so-
if I could.
Okay.
I've been doing it a long time, and I know very, very few people that were ever coaching for that dollar sign.
There's
They're
been
coaching for the love of kids and the love of the sport. The dollars was just a token of appreciation at this level. Now, the next level's a little different story. You really appreciate it when you get 100 million for 10 years.
So I don't know how we have a solution on that, and I guess, I don't know if there is a good solution on that.
well, again, why don't we bring it to the subcommittee? That's something that they would discuss.
I think that's a great idea. Who would we have in the subcommittee? A couple board members?
Well, last time we met was the only time we met. I can't even remember what we were discussing, but I think it was Rob Delmas and maybe Sam Rosling, but he's not on the board.
I think we have a couple board members.
Just
that
a couple.
That actually.
I think we do.
Tony-
Well, there was a discussion there at that last one, what, you know, with there was a list of the sports and there was a list of, you know, what the school really kind of needed to budget for as far as coaches in each of those sports. Nick had that put together
Yeah, he did.
Um, with that. But yeah, it was really contradictive, you know, clause 5 in the extracurricular contract. And then the wording within Article 18, I believe it is.
18.
Article 18, the wording within the CBA. So we wanted to clear that up, and we wanted to value value that time, and we do understand that, like I said before, we do understand that there are budget constraints and everything, and that, you know, retroactively that you may not get the same number of coaches because you didn't have enough kids the next year. But I think I don't think it's a real good precedent to start to say you're hired, you're fired, type of deal. Because it is increasingly harder to find people to give up that time to do that for kids.
So I think that document that Jack and Amy came up with was a start, but I think that would be really good to have some other people's input on it, quite honestly. Like I said, if you have Tony Rebo and some of those, I think that'd be smart. Mr. Hodel can be part of the.
Mr. Odell loves
Doesn't need-
committees.
My free time.
Yeah, free time. All right. Article 8, payday.
Did you come up with 50% that wanted the 10-month?
What?
What are you talking about? Payday?
Yeah, payday. The having the availability to go to the two things, having the availability to go to 10
Yeah, that's what.
and 12, and then having the availability to set a specific date later. We originally had like the 4th, and you said that no way
Well,
because it's
The
so
way, the
hard.
wording in there says that if it's the 4th, then if it falls on the 3rd, that I'd have it all done by the 3rd. There's just no way.
Yeah,
There's no way I can do that.
yeah. So then we talked about moving that to something like the 8th of the month, and moving it out so that it was a specific date. So then, you know, people that have those, you know, that are families and, you know, budget constraints that can really plan on it. So they know that the 8th of every month and not the 4th working day. So it's the 8th here and the 5th here and the 4th here and the 6th here, you know.
So
Just trying to help
classified,
out.
I just can't go past 10 days because classified in their
That's fine.
CBA
Yeah.
has.
Is there a number that you like best in that range?
I don't mind the 4th, but I mean,
But that's
it's
pretty quick.
pushing it.
Yeah. I mean,
So
we like the 8th of the month. It would
that's
give you
what
time.
guys want, sure.
It would give you time.
Instead of the 4th.
Just to have it on the 8th every month
Every month.
instead of the
In the
4th
fourth,
business
yeah.
day.
So then it's set, so then people that, you know, that was something that was brought up to us, you know, I don't quite have that because it's just me, but people with families and budgeting and moving and doing that, they know that we're getting paid on the 8th. The 8th is a Saturday or Sunday, then it's the 7th,
Yep.
or the 7th or the 6th, depending on.
Either way, that works for
Yeah.
me.
So the 8th is
I
it?
can breathe
It's
Okay.
like at the latest.
the
the
first
eighth
of the
is
month, yeah.
At the paid on the 8th of the month. If the 8th lands on a weekday, it would be that Friday before.
I'm okay with that.
Okay?
What about the 10 or 12 months?
I had said if you can get more than 50% of the staff to agree to a 10-month, then I'd do it. Otherwise,
Okay.
no.
I didn't,
That's too
um,
much.
that wasn't in my,
I don't remember
that
that.
wasn't in my notes.
Okay,
So
then
I didn't do it.
I'm
So,
okay with it.
I don't
so
remember
we
that
are-
being said.
So we're doing what? It was
Yeah.
in there. It's in the very beginning.
So we will, you guys gave us the set date, so we'll give you the 12-month. We'll just keep that the way that it is.
Okay.
So the people that want,
There are people that want the 10-month, they want to be able to have, their money as they earn it and to be able to invest it the way that they want. And then, especially with a lot of our newer teachers too, they have a job in the summertime that supplements that, so they want that money during the year when they can't really have that job in the summertime, so.
It's a lot of work to separate 10-month and 12-month. Like, you have to individually go in and change every single employee, so.
Okay.
I'm okay keeping it at 12 months.
Gotcha. All right, so we settled on salary schedule, settled on payday. Yeah. No, so I think we're we're good with that. The insurance went up 9.5%. Is that the understanding?
Yep.
That was at the board meeting. They said that, right?
Yeah.
It's
Last
hard to
night,
keep
okay.
up with. That's pretty good, 9%.
Is it
If
wrong?
we could get this,
Um,
I think they should follow the same rules that we have to follow.
is there a way with the contributions from the school district for employees that take insurance, and employees that don't take insurance? Is there a way to set up a table of what the district contributes to the pool? It was my understanding a while ago that it was agreed upon that LCA, LEA, and I'm sure there's other entities that I'm not aware of that decided to go to a pool insurance, everybody, not just individual LCA, individual LEA, to try and help keep those costs down
Yeah, you're talking,
for everybody.
you're talking about the new insurance that's taking place.
Yeah.
That's gonna be one big pool in the state of.
That
Montana.
starts next year.
No. What we're currently doing, you know, the monies that come from the 65% that comes from the district
Mhm.
that goes into a pool for our employees.
Okay,
Is there a way to have a table that says, for Josh Bean, the district contributes this much? For Kelly Purdy, the district contributes this much.
Yeah, I have.
Wally Winslow doesn't take insurance, so the district contributes this much for him, to say
yeah. I know
that
where- I know where you're going.
table, so because it's kind of a real sticking point on like how all that works.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a lot of confusion.
Yep, and don't worry, I think that's a point of confusion forever and ever. So, yeah, so the issue of if somebody has their own insurance from their spouse and they have a better insurance, and why do I have to pay into it? Why can't they get that money back? If that took place, everybody else's insurance would go through the roof.
Yeah, no, we're not saying take it out.
Mhm.
We're not saying take it out. Is there a way to have a table to see what the district contributes per plan, and what the district contributes per person to that pool
I have a
that
spreadsheet.
does it?
Okay.
Do
It
you?
has it all broken down. Yeah.
Okay,
So you want to see that?
that would be appreciated. Yes.
So, yeah, and, yeah, that's,
I don't know that I have it broken down by CBA. I think I just have
By
it,
CBA,
well, by group. I
Oh.
have it for all employees.
You have
I
it
don't have
for
it
the-
broken down by classified or certified.
you have it but it's broken down by plan, but the people that don't take insurance, how much the district contributes into the pool to try and keep the cost of the premiums lower. Okay.
Yeah, I just don't know if I can give you the information for the classified.
Oh, I see what you're
You know what I
saying.
mean?
Yeah,
So-
well, that makes sense.
But I can, so open enrollment's coming up. May 28th, Rob Turner, he's our representative, is gonna be in your building, I believe, in the morning.
Okay.
And he would be a great person to talk to.
Okay.
About it. And he'll have more information on the upcoming change to the new insurance.
Oh,
we're
yeah,
gonna-
that's next year, right?
Next year, yep.
Or the.
Yep.
Yeah.
it'd be very nice
I
if
did
we
next year, yeah.
Yeah,
at least get 3 to 4
Rob.
years out of it
Rob Turner,
before it came up again.
nice guy, and he's got a lot, I like.
There's a lot.
Yeah, he's,
So my only concern on that is if people are trying to say, well, hey, we're putting a bunch of money into this, and I understand that because I don't ever use the medical yet. But that whole issue of if people are saying I have my own insurance, why do I have to continue to put into that?
I think a lot our people understand.
Understand that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they understand that the money's being contributed back to help out the employees. It's not just LEA, it's LCA, and
Yeah.
like I said, I don't know if there's other entities with that. And that's been a long-standing agreement. You know, I think that's been the same way as long as I've been here.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, if we
and that's
lose,
getting to be in the realm of long now.
I mean, if somebody wanted to say, well, let's give us your money and go get your own insurance, that'd be bad for like.
Oh, man, that'd be ugly. Yeah. Okay, next, we had proposed a retirement program. next year we are gonna have 33 people all the way over, all the way down. Those 33 people take up 50% of our salaries. And we want to look at a program to be able to recycle that money from our top end to our low end and try and get our low end to become our middle, because right now we don't have any middle. You know, so like, you know, we talked about taking an average of 3 years and not to exceed, and these are just numbers that we put down, not to exceed the 25,000, and then split up that over 5 years, so then it makes it more manageable for the district. You know, if we took somebody at 75,000, and their average was that for 3 years, let's just use that because it's easy. So then that would be right at their $25,000. Okay, they're not teaching anymore, so at 75, you know, we hire somebody at 41,613. That you know, there's $30,000 there minus the 5,000 for that year, so $25,000 that becomes more accessible to the district to be able to recycle that money.
It's just on the front.
Yes, I understand. Yes, I understand that there's a teacher shortage. I understand that it's hard to get teachers, and we're not saying to try and push people out the door, but we do have to look at the future of Libby Public Schools, and you know, and be able to recycle that money and be able to attract applicants and to work that through as we move forward, because you know, because the future is, you know, as long as we have been here, you know, we're invested not only in the time that we're in the building, we're also, as you saw from Mr. May last night, invested beyond the time in the classroom, and to be able to work at something that, you know, and we're even willing to do something like offer to the first 4 people that say yes by December 1st.
Is that like a race or?
Well, but then that allows the district to know that, hey, Jane Doe and Joe Blow are going to be taking the retirement program. We can put an ad out, you know, as the first semester of college is ending, and the people that know that are graduating then know that there's a job opening in Libby. Whereas if they get into May or June, if they get into April or May, March, April, May, and they decide to retire, it's really late in the game to be able to do that. And then that also helps the district out too, to be able to apply and attract applicants. And then we can end up recycling that money, because those 33 people all the way over, all the way down are taking over 50%, so $2.5 million. Over 50% of the salary. And just looking at, we believe it's something that can end up trying to help out the district to recycle that money, to use that money, you know, because the first year savings 25, and then if they move over, it goes down a little bit each time. But there can be that opportunity for that district to have that money. Like I said, we don't want to push people out the door. We have really people, you know, aren't gonna leave until they're ready. You know, the people that we have all the way over, all the way down are committed people to the profession, and that's why they're all the way over, all the way down. And they're gonna go when they're ready. But this allows us to look at enhancing the future of Libby Public Schools. And I think we can all agree that that's something that, you know, needs to be in our binocular vision.
I think it's well worth thinking about. I just have my personal belief on this is I like old teachers because they always show up to work.
Veteran, don't say old.
Well, there's not here.
That's
Yeah, veteran.
experience.
I like experienced, seasoned veterans because they're good at what they do, and I can't think of the last time I've had somebody that was a veteran in my office for doing something silly. Terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, give me some time. I mean,
Yeah. I,
I have a book. Just send me a credit. Ben, are you probably gonna be in it?
no.
It'll be Bender Kendra
There we go.
in the book for Edmonton.
Brenda Kenner.
Give her a hard
There we go, Brenda Kenner.
Okay.
I would also throw in one thing. The longer a person works, the longer they live. So it's a blessing to have people in the building that are older than Mrs. Benner.
But if we keep continuing to fill up that bottom right of the matrix, it's going to become increasingly more difficult for you guys. Because that salary is going to keep going up, and then the longevity on top of it is going to keep going up because it's 4% of the base, and then that number is going to get larger and larger for you, and it's going to become increasingly harder to be able to sustain that, and we don't want to have to. And then then the hard conversations about RIFs and cuts and non-renewals and all that needs to take place. Where if we can look at something being proactive instead of reactive, and trying to be able to recycle that, so we don't have a situation like Miles City where 20 people resign, where we can kind of attrition it a little bit and we can recycle and keep moving that through, that it would be better in total, I think better for the district to be able to plan and to work and to move. And like I said, we're not gonna be forcing people out, but it would be an option for us to, and I think that there's, looking at everybody all the way over, all the way down, that's above 25, that they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that there would be 10 people eligible, but we wouldn't, having 10 people do it would be a ridiculous cost. That's why we would look at something like the first 4 people by December 1st that say that they are going to retire. So then, you can plan, and that you're going to have that money, moving forward in recycling this stuff. He's going to go till 55 years.
Can't push me out the door.
No, you could start a trend.
So,
God, I've been to work 40 years, so you can't push me out.
so.
My point exactly.
So, but we just look, we were looking when we saw the matrix, when Stacy, I think it was Stacy that sent out the scattergram, and we saw all those people. I think there's 31 right now. There's going to be 33 next year with people that we asked who are going to move lanes. It's like, boy, that's a lot of experienced teachers, veteran teachers that do a good job, but it's also a huge cost to the district. And if there was something to try, and we thought it would be a great thing to be able to offer to as a thank you to our people that have been around a long time, and that have done the job well, because there's nobody that gets all the way over and all the way down that doesn't do the job well, treat kids well, have good curriculum, and it just doesn't happen. As a thank you, and to be able to recycle that and to continue working on the future of Liberty Public Schools.
Can we think about it?
Huh?
Can we think about it? We'll put some.
Well, of course, yeah, because this.
I need some backup on that. I don't have anything. All I have is, did you hand something out?
I did.
Yeah.
We
You
did.
I don't have that. The retirement, I don't have any of
Is
that.
the right
I
one?
don't either.
Oh, shoot.
Josh.
I know. It's been so.
We'll look at it.
Is it this one? I can go make copies.
Article 19, retirement and service.
Talking to
I remember you mentioning it.
We mentioned it.
Oh,
I
we didn't see it.
There. You guys can have that. Make copies of that.
But
and
there's
discuss
also, there's this.
Oh.
Is that the right one?
that. No, that's not the right one.
Okay.
I don't have that at all.
No, that's my fault. We didn't get that far.
Oh.
We didn't get that far. That's my fault.
You
And
mentioned it, but that's.
we mentioned it, we didn't hand it out.
Oh, gosh.
So-
No, I remember talking about this.
We did talk
This is
about
the thing where it was Scott and Jim are the only ones left on this insurance thingy.
What?
So they did this before.
Grandfather.
Oh, yes.
They grant, and it's a mess. It's a nightmare.
Take
It is
it
a
under
nightmare to take care of.
Is that the same thing? that we're talking about?
Contract.
Oh, no, this isn't.
Insurance.
No?
No, this is different.
Okay.
Yeah, this is different. This is different. This is two options to what we just got done talking about.
Oh, okay.
That they could
This
take,
one.
they could take a cash payment over 5 years, or they could take that same amount in insurance
Is it this one?
to be able to handle that.
And you're not talking about that now?
We just talked about that.
Yes.
So
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna-
thought you said we're not doing that.
No, she was talking about another thing.
Okay,
with
yeah.
Contracts type, but we'll give that to you guys, you can make copies of it, you guys can discuss it. And then we can look at that. Okay?
Okay.
Last thing, let's get this done. We talked, we handed you did we hand out the duration, no strike clause?
No.
Yeah,
You?
you did.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
It's the,
yeah,
it's the one where they wanna,
the language that if, negotiations breaks down, moving forward,
We talked
then
about
we
it.
do negotiate, or then we get a mediator.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just adding in the language.
It's just adding language to shore up the process, if it happens. That's all that it is. It's not changing any language. It's not, altering anything to make anything more, more conducive to LEA. It's just listing some steps so that, when we are not negotiating anymore, that the next person doesn't necessarily have all of these questions. They know that if this happens, then we move on to this. If this happens, then we move on to this. If this happens, we move on to this. It's for our future negotiating members. I got too many pages, I'm done with it.
Here,
No, we got it. So,
here, Josh.
Josh, I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I looked at that and then,
Okay.
but I haven't dealt with it for a while. So I wouldn't be able to have an informed opinion on it. Sorry.
We've never, in the time that I've been here, I don't think that we've ever got to those stages, or not that I'm aware of. I may not have been. I'll tell you, when I was first here, I was not involved with this as much as I probably should have, to learn from some more experienced veteran people.
So to Mr. Hodel, that whole issue, when I first got here, I was really surprised to see that they were still negotiating in July.
Yes, we've been in a few times.
Yeah.
We had some long ones. Mhm.
Yeah,
You're
so,
good, buddy.
I mean,
That's all
a lot
I'll
of
say.
desserts.
I won't say what his nickname was.
Was it rat face or
Parrot face.
ferret face?
I didn't
He
say.
was my buddy. He invited me to his wedding. I remember.
What?
And I kept saying, it's like Boinkers. Because Boinkers was Mr. Reed. Parrot face was, yeah. I shouldn't have done that, but I did it.
I wonder how Ferret Face is doing. Ferret Face, who's that?
That's what he reminded me of, because we had to sit across from each other, and only the two of us can talk. And I've got Tim on one side and Ray Johnson on the other.
Who's Ferret Face?
So it was. It was interesting.
I want to meet the guy.
He,
I just want to see his face.
we're just, and with that, it's just language to help out the next group. Hopefully it never gets to that, but if it does, then they have an idea, they have a plan of how things work. And like I said, it's not at any advantage to anybody. It's just a roadmap for moving forward if negotiations fail.
And you want to look that over?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least last,
Dinner time.
let's pass that.
bedtime. So. What do we need to do now?
It's adios.
I think the only
Audio.
thing that we didn't come back and address, sorry guys, is Article 6. Is the only thing we didn't come back
What are
and
you talking
address.
about?
The 180 instructional days.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Did we?
That we're, you know,
Yeah.
we're not going to, at this point, just because with everything that we
Okay.
talked about, that, there's some bigger issues than the 180 instructional days with attendance that we
Okay.
need to try and get figured out first, moving forward, with that. Okay,
Thank you.
thank
Are we
you.
done?
Thank you.
Have a good night. What's the rest of it? Mr. Goodman, I left my water bottle in the office up there. Can I get in there and grab that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't get into my secret stash of cookies, but.
He does
Are
have
they
one
homemade?
actually, I'm not joking.